What's going on, everybody? This is Nick from House of Paint 203, bringing you part 3 of the Young Red Dragon series. In parts 1 and 2, we brought him up all the way to midtones, and now today we are going to be finishing up with some final highlights, as well as we're going to bring out his base, explore new base scenery, and we are going to paint his fireball. So a lot of stuff to do before we call him done. Let's jump right in. As always, just want to give a special shout out to friend of the show, Dominic Marriott, owner and founder of Credit UK, all the way across the pond in the UK. Dominic is a crafter of dice trays, dice vaults, dice boxes, dice towers, you name it, Dominic makes it. And you should check out his stuff so that you can up your game at your gaming table today. Also, while you're here, be sure to smite like and slam subscribe so that you can stay up to date on all the latest content that I am putting out there in my quest to paint the manual. And of course, this week we are featuring the Young Red Dragon, Nolzur's Marvelous Miniatures, and WizKids Games. Let's go for it. So as I said, I'm going to start him off in part 3 here with a I'm going to try for a final highlight, so I'm using a bloody red, which is a brighter red. I'm going to try a dry brush. I may not go completely dry. Bring out these raised areas. Hoping a dry brush can do the trick for me, because man, is it tedious picking out all of these scales. Trying to be very careful around the belly scales. I can already see that I nicked them a little bit, so I'm gonna hope I can remedy that when I give the final highlight. Going across his face here, kind of an overbrush. His face is being a little stubborn. I'm also going to be trying a little object source lighting when I pop his fireball in there. I'm going to try to make him look like he is actually glowing in certain areas from the glare emanating off of the flame. So we'll see. I think that dry brush is doing a nice enough job. I have one more layer to go after this, in which I incorporate a little bit of orange into the mixture. Going back to the palette here. Back here on the wings. This is certainly an overbrush. Kind of intentional. Bringing them in for the real thing here. Going in here with a mix of pale yellow and Otyug brown. just going a little bit up along the last highlight to really give it that nice edge. All right, so I went ahead and did the horns as well. Tipped the horns with the same color. So now the horns are pretty much done. And now I'm gonna go in on the scales with a final highlight, officially a final highlight. And I just wanna see how it looks. So I have mixed a bloody red with a little bit of orange. And I'm just gonna find some of the curves. In certain spots. And we just pop that on. I might see what a dry brush looks like first. Let me do that. Start off down on the legs. That looks pretty cool. Hit the scales back here. It actually works to give it a nice little highlight. It's harsh enough. I use the word harsh, but it has enough discrepancy in it that on this model it actually stands out a little bit. So it's actually serving as a nice highlight here. I'm going ahead and hitting the face. That looks really cool on the wings. Gonna go in here and touch up the horns on his face since I still have the mixture wet in the palette. I think what I might do now is apply the black to the tips of the wings out here, over here, and on the frills as well as his claws, I'm just going to show you what I'm doing real quick. In the Monster Manual, the tips of the red's wings are kind of covered with soot, so that's the effect that I'm going for, as well as I'm going to tip his frills with black as well. I don't want it to be overly pronounced, but I do want it to be present to a certain degree. So as you can see here, I'm just running my brush along the lower quarter of his wings. What it's doing is creating kind of a nice, almost natural blend going up into the larger portion of the membranes there. Right along the sides here. Just following the tips. I'm going in now on the eyes and giving it a final little touch of pale yellow. I think now what we have to do is I'm going to try to go in with a khaki and just touch up the bones of his wings. Give those a quick base coat now that the soot is applied. So I'm just going to do this all around the wings. I'm going to set him off to the side for a little while. I'm going to grab his base here. I do want to kind of make him look like he's hovering over like a lava flat. So to do this, I'm going to just kind of hold this from the stem, and I'm going to give this a base coat of just a heavy gray. Gotta let that dry. And while that is drying, I'm going to go into Fire Blast. The young red comes with a kind of a jolt of flame that you can put in his mouth. What I'm going to use for this is I'm actually going to start with some inks. So these are acrylic inks. They're pretty diluted in and of themselves. I'm using an old brush to apply them because sometimes inks can muck up your brushes. So I think what I'm gonna do is start with my yellow. Very diluted. These are pretty translucent. And they do a nice job of showing through the whatever it is you're painting. So now I'm gonna go with my red, and I'm gonna try to bleed the red right into the red ink right into the yellow down there. Really just playing around with it. Up here it's going to be more. Up here it's going to be a little darker. Really have to work with these because inks can have a mind of their own on these kinds of surfaces, so I just it's really just a matter of wrestling with them. I'm using my model holder to kind of hold that up. All right. Base is dry. Let's go with a black wash on the stone. Just applying the wash kind of all over, letting it run and dive where it will. It'll find the recesses. Really want to make it kind of look like scorched earth with this young red here. All right, so let that sit, let that dry. Then I'll be giving it a dry brush of Stonewall gray, very light gray. And then we'll doctor up that base, put some lava flats in here, or try to at least, and then we'll go for it. All right, I now have quite the mess on the table here, but they say clutter is a sign of genius, so I guess we'll roll with that. So while I was waiting for everything to dry, I went in on the base here and I painted the base in a bloody red. Now this did take actually quite a long time because the plastic is not really conducive to just doing one coat, so I had to do multiple coats. And as you can see, I really left the middle bare. I focused my supply around the outside because I do want to try to do kind of like a lava bed around him. So, and now that the base is dry, I'm going to go in on this with a dry brush of Stonewall gray, which is a very light gray. For this, I am going to be using very dry paint residue. I think that should be good, and I'm going to just be grazing the raised areas. This is going to be a nice contrast to the heavy gray and shadow wash that is already on the base here. So as you can see, it's making this detail come out pretty nicely. hit everywhere. And then I can really just go ahead and glue it down. All right, so now that that's on, I'm going to get a little bit of orange fire. I'm gonna get a little bit of sun yellow. And I'm gonna let these two paints kind of play around down here on the base. So I'm actually going to use the base itself as my palette. Now we're gonna get a little freaky, just like it's kindergarten all over again. I'm going to just kind of take my kind of take my brush and just kind of spin it around, do some little twirly doos down here. Maybe just around the outer edge like that. Dropping a little more sun yellow into the mix here. I'm just twirling it around because trying to create kind of that random effect that lava flow would have. Look pretty interesting when it's dry. Hopefully. I'm gonna go in with a little heavy red along the outer edges. Get a kind of an outline. Maybe just kind of bleed some of that in. Give it that kind of like that dark rim. That looks pretty cool. more sunny yellow. Gonna bring that light color back. Really, I'm just wrestling with this right now. Got some up on the base. I just want to try to outline this. Actually pretty cool looking. Doesn't look like crap. I am liking the effect it's kind of having so far, for sure. I do have some new effects. I have some burned tufts here that I'm gonna, they're called scorched tufts, and they're similar to what I've been using, in that they are stickers. Just peel them off. That was a fire tuft, but I think I got enough fire down there, so I would imagine not a whole lot of plant life is going to be growing around here, so except for this like kind of dried bramble. So that's what I'm going to be sticking with here. That's probably good. Let's see what we got when I stick our guy on here. Our man with the plan. All right, he looks pretty good. Now the only thing I have left to do on him is to bring out his teeth. So for his teeth, I'm going to be using, it's a regular bone white. All right, and that is it for the young red dragon. This one was a lot of fun. My first chromatic dragon on the channel, but I am ready to call him complete, and I'm very happy with him. Information on how to follow me on all my social media platforms is immediately following the video, as is information on how to follow Dominic Marriott of Credit UK. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you for the next one.